Hey everyone, I'm so glad to be back. I thought I'd never see you guys again. I was hospitalized with a stomach pains infection. And let me tell you, those were some painful days. But while I was laying there recovering, something clicked. Because outside my hospital window, Bitcoin didn't stop. It surged, it strengthened, it's confirmed everything we've been talking about. So let's get into it. For weeks, it feels like everything was falling apart. Recession's warnings, inflation's pressure, job losses, market crashes, war, tariffs. But now, it's like the pieces are finally snapping into place. Not to save the system, but to corner the world into Bitcoin. Whether they realize it or not, everything they're doing is pushing people toward the one assets they can't control, Bitcoin. And what's wild is that most people are still staring at the wrong thing. They're staring at Trump, at tariffs, at headlines, at panic. But they're not seeing the thing that really moves markets. It's liquidity. Quiet, hidden, delayed. But when it hits, it doesn't just move prices, it launches them. A massive $5 trillion wave of new liquidity is quietly making its ways into the system, targeting both stocks and Bitcoin. But here's the part most people overlooked. Liquidity doesn't hit instantly. It moves with a delay, like a shadow. The crash we felt back in late 2024, Bitcoin dropping, stocks slipping. That was the impact of liquidities drying up. But this time, the tide's turning, and $5 trillion is already rolling in. This is the undercurrent, the real signal beneath all the noise. Everyone focused on Trump's tariff, but that's just the surface. The tariffs are a tactic, a leverage to reorganize global trade, to pressure supply chains, and most importantly, to reset the monetary structure. They're not the goal, they're the distraction. The real game is happening underneath, quietly, deliberately. While markets swung wildly during Trump's first 100 days, up $10 trillion, down $10 trillion, people call it chaos. But what if the volatility was engineered? What if it's not about trade deals, but about flushing out weak hands and resetting the board for a new asset era? Because while most of the world was waiting for the next crash, Bitcoin reversed from $74,000 lows. It bounced. Then it flew past $96,000, and that move wasn't hype. It was a response, a delayed but predictable reactions to liquidity. And we're seeing this before. Back in late 2022, when the world screams collapsed and CNBC begged viewers to sell, we saw liquidities bottom out. I said it then, and I'll say it again. Liquidity drives everything. Bitcoin doesn't move randomly. It responds to global M2, the money in the system. And right now, global M2s is rising again. You want to know why Bitcoin is pumping despite fear, tariffs, and recession's headlines? Because money is flooding back in, quietly behind the curtain. But here's what makes it explosive. Bitcoin is not just scarce, it's absolutely finite. There will never be more than 21 million. And the market cap? Still tiny compared to gold, stocks, bonds, or real estate. That means when liquidity surges, Bitcoin reacts faster, harder, sharper, because there's not just enough of it to go around. They are not watching the headlines, they're watching the inflows, the ETFs pipelines, the OTC buys, the custodial stacking. That's how you spot real conviction. It's not in the tweets, it's in the outflows. And those outflows, they've never been bigger. Fidelity just confirmed over 425,000 Bitcoins have left exchanges since November. That's the lowest exchange supply since 2018. And corporate buyers alone are buying over 30,000 Bitcoins per month. That's not bullish. That's a complete supply shock. And it's not retail driving it. It's giant BlackRock sovereignty funds. These aren't swings traders. They are strategic players locking in futures they see coming. Let me tell you, they are not betting. They're positioning. And that's positioning. It's pulling Bitcoin off the grid. And listen to this. This isn't even the final wave. We're still in the early stages of liquidity's catching up. That $5 trillion injections we mentioned, it's still working its ways through the system. And we're already seeing Bitcoins respond. So what happens next? More of the same, but faster. Bitcoin is front-running the next 12 weeks of liquidity, and the institutions knows it. They read the reports, they see the M2 shift, and they're not hesitating. But here's what I want you to take away from this. Most people won't see this until it's obvious. But when it's obvious, it's always expensive. When everyone's buying Bitcoins at $250,000 per coin, it'll feel normal. But that's when it's too late to move with power. That's when you'll wish you had time. That's when regret sets in. You don't need to own a full Bitcoins to benefit, but you need the exposure now, because the elite don't wait for permission. They shakes the tree. They scares the crowd. They use fears to clear the path for themselves. And right now, that's exactly what they're doing. Everything is lining up. Tariffs squeezing trade. Liquidity is pumping. Institutions stacking. And yet, the average investor is frozen. And that's the magic trick. They flood you with distractions. They bury you in headlines while they're buying. And here, what should motivate you most? They're not hiding it anymore. Larry Fink literally said Bitcoins could become a $50 trillion assets in the next 10 to 15 years. That's bigger than the U.S. real estate market. Bigger than gold. Bigger than all the lies they told us about what's safe. That's not speculation. That's a roadmap. If you read between the lines, between the headlines, the ETF moves, the treasury language, it's all there. Bitcoin is no longer fringe. It's becoming foundational. We're not early in terms of awareness, but we are still early in terms of price. The price you're seeing today, that's the floor of tomorrow. And the wall of demands is rising fast. So here's the reality. If you're stacking even just a few bucks a week, you're doing something most people never understand. You're front-running the system. You're resisting manipulation. You're owning your own future, one cent at a time. Because the dollars, it's still inflating, still weakening, still drowning in debts. Bitcoin fixed it. Free. Final. So stay focused. Watch liquidity. Ignore noise. Don't chase candles. Chase conviction. Because by the time everyone else catches on, you already be where they wish they were. Smash the like. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm honored to be back with you. And this time, I'm not letting up. And my friends, don't forget to hold tight and stack it right. Take care.